Are books as NFTs a good use case of the technology? In this episode, we will have a look, including some examples and a short expert interview. Hello and herzlich willkommen to the Bernhard Neumann podcast. Here you get insights, assessments and knowledge around the topics of Web3, NFTs and crypto. I'm your host Bernhard and I help brands successfully get started with Web3, the metaverse and NFTs with training, workshops, strategies and convincing communication so that the whole thing has a method and brings results. So, NFTs and books. Let's keep it simple for this one. I know publishing is much more than books, but I think for all the comparisons or for the ease of this episode, we focus on NFTs and books. And I have a framework for you that I want to share, which kind of helps us to evaluate if NFT books are a good use case. But before that, I want to give some background that I also needed in order to really grasp the topic better. So let's jump right into it. If you think NFTs and books, obviously you think digital books. And so I wanted to look at the ebook market. And if you look at Germany, we have for every 6 books that are sold physically, there's 1 ebook that's being sold. And in the US, this is drastically different. We have for every 4 books who are sold physically, there's 1 ebook. So it's much more adopted, the whole ebook thing. And so to keep it simple, we think 75% of the market is physical books and 25% of the market is digital books and other digital stuff. But it's mostly books. Okay, so I think having that background, I think there's a big market that can be potentially put into the NFT space. If you make NFTs out of all those digital books that already exist, that would be quite significant. And what sparked my interest really to this topic was an announcement by Pearson PLC. So they are one of the world's largest publishers of textbooks, and they plan to use NFTs for their textbooks. Why would they do that? It's quite simple, it's money. And so, as it turns out, their textbooks get resold about 7 times on average, which is quite a lot. Why is that? Because those books are very expensive and it only makes sense to resell them once you've completed the class. If you bought a book that's $300 to $500, obviously you want to see if someone else has use for it, and so they get resold. I did the whole thing. I did study in the US, so I know what this is like, and I've used many resold books. Makes sense. So why did Pearson PLC want to jump on NFTs now? It's the thing called royalties. As we see in the art market and in the NFT market as well, royalties have played a big role. There's some big changes now, which is a whole different topic. But in general, as it works right now, you get for every NFT that's sold, you can say, okay, I want a certain percentage of royalties. Most platforms allow up to 10%. So Pearson PLC could say, every time this gets resold, we get a cut. And I'm not sure if this is appropriate for textbooks. I don't know. But this is their reasoning. But I sure hope it's not their only reasoning, because as we will discover in this episode, there's so much more that you can do with NFTs and books just than making money on the royalties of books being resold. And so this brings us to the framework in order to evaluate, is this a good use case for NFTs? I have this little framework. I would like to jump right into the first aspect of this framework, and it's the technology advancement that this new technology NFTs would bring. Is it really a better technical solution? And I thought some time about this, and I think in many aspects it is, and in many aspects it is probably not. And so I compared it to the Amazon Kindle, right? It's a system that works very well. You buy the book, you can read it on your devices, you can get the app on your Apple device and read it there, or you have a Kindle, a reader. And so this works very well, but as you also know, it's very limited to this Amazon platform. If you don't connect to it, there's nothing to read. Also, what you cannot do is send it to your friend after you've read it, or you can resell it to someone. That's not an option. So it is basically a sunk cost, also compared to a physical book, which can be resold. It's quite a hassle, but at least you can actually resell it or give it to someone. With an ebook, that's not really the case. And so with that regards, I think NFTs would add tremendous value to the reader, to the buyer, because NFTs free up a digital asset. Like if it's on the blockchain, if it's on a public blockchain, and you can freely transfer it, like that's a big advantage. Like you can do whatever you want with your ebook, and that would be much better than it's currently. On the other hand, I see some limitations, because I think in terms of the usability and how it's displayed, that would probably take some years for it to be as good as the Amazon Kindle, right? Like if you have this token on the blockchain, you can create one app that reads it well, but on the other, it might not look as good. And so obviously, as this system is more open, there's more variety of how it actually is used and how the user interfaces are. But I'm pretty sure this can be solved. So I think in the long term, it would be technically a much better solution for everyone involved. And we will see actually why it's also better for the publisher and the author in a little bit. And maybe that's also our next point. So we have the technical evolution, and now we have the economical benefits that come from it. So what's going on? Who does it benefit, this new technology? Is it a good use case? And for that, I would say we have three groups. We have the author, we have the publisher, and we have the reader and the buyer. So let's look at the buyer, the reader of it. As we just talked about it, NFTs give this ability to free up this asset, to resell it as you wish. And so I think NFTs would definitely be a win for digital books. And so I think that's a plus for the reader. If we look at the author, now it gets really fun. I think that's where we start getting into the fun part of books as NFTs, is when we start thinking, what can the author do with this technology? So first we could look at distribution. Like self-publishing, it's a thing. So I think it doesn't really add that much to it. Like self-publishing is possible today. That's not the problem. The problem is getting people interested in your work. So self-publishing, I don't think it's adding that much to it. But what it does give you the opportunity to do is to create a much stronger interaction and incentive model around your book and your work. Because with NFTs, you have this unique digital token, which people can own. It also does feel like ownership. It is actually performing like ownership. And so you have a whole different sense of involvement with something that you can own digitally, which you don't with an Amazon Kindle book. And now you can build on that. You can build experiences. You can build a community that's all based on this token that you got, on this NFT. And from then on, you have so much more possibilities. You can license out some characters in your book to the people that hold your NFTs. You can get into this kind of collaboration with them, how they, further your brand, your book, your story. And you can profit from that, not just financially, but also as an artistic way. And so I think there's so much to be gamified and experienced when you make something very tangible digitally and also make it so someone can own it. And because if you own something, you can build on it, right? That was the beginning of civilization, that you were able to own land. If you don't know if it's your land tomorrow, what are you going to build on it? Are you going to build a beautiful house? You don't know if it's yours tomorrow. You're not going to do that. But if you know it's yours, if you can own it, then you start building. And that's the same with NFTs. And what's different with NFTs on top of that is that other people can build something for it as well, because you can reference the token on the blockchain. You can say everyone that has the token from this author gets to experience something on our website. And so it opens up this whole system of beautiful things that can come out of it. And there's really no downside in this regard. It's not like it's creating spam. It's just opening up opportunities for author, for the community to interact with this digital thing called your book as an NFT. And the same goes for the publisher, right? If the publisher's role is to actually get the attention, to curate, to give the structure to everything, then they will win as well. If you make this book a whole lot bigger in terms of the story, in terms of the community that can interact with it, there will be lots of ways for publishers also to benefit from that financially. And so I think if we look at the whole thing, the economic factor of this new technology, I think it will bring a lot of positives to all of the stakeholders. And so I think that's a strong win on this side. So the next topic for me in terms of evaluating the use case of books being NFTs is the whole, adoption. Can we get enough people to use it? Are they really interested in it? Is there demand? And for that, I did ask an expert. I was at the Demexco last week. And so there was Alex. He and his company, he's building, a platform where authors can easily publish their books as NFTs. And so I talked to him, and let's have a listen what he thinks has to happen for mass adoption. What needs to happen for NFT books to go more mainstream? Like, what do you see ahead?
First, I think each project needs to have something special, some extra offer for the NFT space. It can also work with just a book. I mean, you can put the same book which you find on Amazon on the blockchain, and you can brand it as a special edition. Like in the past, you have the paperback and the hardcover. And the hardcover is more, it's fancier, it's nicer, maybe has a golden, print or something. That would be the equivalent of the digitized world, an NFT. It's a special book. But with this special book, if you leave it like that, you lose lots of opportunities. You can add unlimited number of features, utilities. You can add new chapters only to the NFT holders. You can create PFP projects, for example, with characters from the book.
Oh, I see where this is going.
And if the author or the publisher is really open-minded, you can engage the community. You can create the opportunity for the fans to write their own little stories, to build on the book itself. And if you're even bolder, you can give ownership to the community to certain characters or to all characters, and you can print mugs with that character or whatever. So the opportunities are endless. It's only how much the publisher or the owner of the project wants to put into this, how much effort they want to put into that.
I honestly love this, but coming back to my question, how do you see it? Like, how do we get there? Like, I love the vision. I feel like this is an awesome product for everyone, for the publisher and the consumer. But how do we get to where this is, like, actually, like, I'm not sure if it's ever going to be on Amazon, or like, how does this get mainstream?
I think small steps. Just be in the market, launch one product with one or two utilities, and then take it from there. I think it's trial and error. The industry is it's very young. It will still grow a lot in the future, I think. The current technological options will be much different in a couple of years, I think. So planning for a very, very long roadmap ahead, I think, doesn't really make sense. Just get into the game, get your hands dirty, launch a project. One or two utilities, I think, should be enough to be different than any other ebook or audiobook. One very straightforward utility would be to create the audiobook for the ebook. And this can be an unlockable, and you can put it on this NFT. And this is already very different from the ebook. And it's, I think, enough to have some early adopters, to have some fans, to communicate with them on Discord based on the NFT they hold. So you can just engage and create a community. And I think ideas will come along the way.
You're getting me bullish here. Not gonna lie. Yeah, very insightful. You saw or you heard that I was really excited. I really think there's so many things to be discovered here, and it just opens up a whole new world for the author, also for the publisher, but especially also for the reader. And so what he said is step by step. And I think that's great advice. Like, it's not going to happen overnight that books as NFTs get adopted in a big way. Maybe there will be this big catalyst if some of the very big authors say, okay, we're going to do this. And all of a sudden the next Harry Potter, the next Lord of the Rings is going to be an NFT project. And so back to the framework, I think we can conclude with something that's also important, and that's sustainability. And I think we can move on from this quite fast. As of today, most blockchains that will be used for books are very efficient. They don't use more energy than any other database, and so we are good to go from this side. Sustainability should not be a problem when putting books out as NFTs. So I think we have a pretty round picture of the use case. Personally, my outlook on books as NFTs is quite positive. I think there's so many great aspects to this technology that can unlock creativity, that can unlock experiences for everyone, which is just nicer, better than the current offerings. And so I think there is a future for books as NFTs. I think it will come down to getting that user interface is good. So it's very easy, it's very seamless, just like you buy a book on Amazon Kindle. And if we can get there, and if it can feel very easy, convenient, and you get all the upside from actually owning the token, being able to transfer it, being able to create communities around it, use the token for other experiences, maybe even go into licensing, then there's so much to be discovered here. And it's just, to me, it's plain exciting, like I would love to be part of, a story that an author comes up with, and I can own a character and I can build with it. And there's so many possibilities. I'm excited for this. I think it's for creativity. It's a great thing. It's a great thing for authors to venture, and also to capture maybe more value of what they're creating. And so many positives. To round this episode out, I would like to give you an example from within the NFT community that you might not have heard of. And it's a very successful example of a true Web3 book project, I would say. And it's quite interesting. Let's hear it. So Jenkins de Valet, or whoever is behind it, I don't actually know his real name, but he's a real person. He said, okay, we have this Bored Ape Yacht Club, and there's 10,000 monkey pictures which people pay a lot of money for and also identify with. They have all those different traits. Some have a cowboy hat on, some have a crown, some are golden, some are blue. And so they're all that different, and people identify with them and also make up their own little stories around them, as they also use this IP to market themselves. And so he thought, okay, what if we do a book? What if we create stories around those apes? What would this look like? And so he came up with this company and this concept where he said, okay, I'm going to sell an NFT project here. And this NFT project has different tiers. And if you own the highest tier of this NFT project, in this case, it was a yacht, he said, okay, now if you own a Bored Ape, and you have this highest NFT tier of my project, you can license out your ape for my upcoming book, and your ape will play a main character in this book. And so it gives the Bored Ape Yacht Club holders the possibility to be part of this book, to license their ape out, which is obviously great publicity for their ape, but also has actual rewards. They get part of the revenue that's generated from the book. And so this is what he did. And it's a true success because he approached it in a very professional way. And he found an incredible author, Neil Strauss. He's a best-selling author in the US and maybe even worldwide. And so he wrote this book, and it actually came out a couple of days ago, which is really exciting. And now there's this whole story around the Bored Ape Yacht Club and all those characters. And, this might not be of interest to you, Bored Apes, who cares? But what's really exciting is the mechanics behind it, taking some IP and creating things around it, taking a community and creating art around it, creating a book around it, and bringing all this to life, bringing digital assets to life. This is exciting to me, and I think this is a nice way of ending this episode. I think NFTs as books have the chance to bring many things alive and in a new way, in an interesting way, in an exciting way. And so I'm pretty excited for a future in which we have books as NFTs and can interact with them and can be part of the story even further. I hope you took something away from today. Let's talk about it in the comments. I'm really excited to hear your perspective, what you think about books and NFTs. And yeah, thanks for listening. Till next time, take care.